Hello, everyone. It's time for a chapter, not a chapter day. It's not time for that. It's time for Bible Study Live. Bible Study Live with Connie and friends. Right now, it's just me being crazy, trying to figure out what day it is and what planet I'm on. But I'm live no matter what. So we're going to get this done. We're going to get her done. We are continuing our theme, our September theme, which is animals in the Bible. And we started with donkeys. Last week, we started with donkeys. Today, we're going deep. We're going deep. Originally, I was going to talk about lions, but I guess they'll be later. What I was led to was fantastic beasts in the Bible. Fantastic beasts. And let me just say, fantastic. I mean, I know fantastic doesn't always mean good. Fantastic can mean large or big or, that kind of thing. Like it was a fantastic ship kind of thing. And it doesn't mean great, it means in size or in scope. Clearly, that's what these. That's what this is referencing, because some of these beasts are not fantastic in a good way, not in a good way. So, but I'm going to end on a good one because boy, oh boy, I was reading. You'll hear it. I was reading about one of the things, and my stomach started hurting, and I was like, okay, we won't be ending on this one. That's not how we're going to leave this Bible study. So, we're going to read five different accounts of different beasts in three different books of the Bible. We're going to start with Ezekiel. We're going to start with Ezekiel. Then we're going to go to Revelation. Need I say more? And then we're going to end in Job. So we're going to start with Ezekiel, Ezekiel 10. So since we're going to start with the angels or cherubim, which are another type of angel. Hold on, let me get to Ezekiel. But it's interesting, I'd love to just call them angels, but the way they're described, they're more of a beast than just this beautiful. I mean, I think cherubim, and I'm like, oh, little popo. That's not what cherubim are. Not according to Ezekiel 10. They're not they're not that. That's what they're not. So let's take a look and see what they actually are. We're going to start in verse 8 of Ezekiel. So, Ezekiel 10, starting in verse 8. Under the wings of the cherubim could be seen what looked like human hands. I looked, and I saw beside the cherubim 4 wheels, one beside each of the cherubim. The wheels sparkled like topaz. As for their appearance, the 4 of them looked alike. Each was like a wheel intersecting a wheel. Like that. A wheel intersecting a wheel. As they moved, they would go in any one of the 4 directions the cherubim faced. The wheels did not turn about as the cherubim went. So thinking about our luggage now, we have those wheels that just spin whatever direction we want to go. They're saying it's not that. It's not what it was. The wheels did not turn about as the cherubim went. The cherubim went in whatever direction the head faced without turning as they went. Their entire bodies, including their backs, their hands, and their wings, were completely full of eyes, as were their 4 wheels. I heard the wheels being called the whirling wheels. Each of the cherubim had 4 faces. One face was that of a cherub, a cherub. The second, the face of a human being. The third, the face of a lion. And the fourth, the face of an eagle. Then the cherubim rose upward. These were the living creatures I had seen by the Kebar River. When the cherubim moved, the wheels beside them moved, and when the cherubim spread their wings, to rise from the ground, the wheels did not leave their side. When the cherubim stood still, they also stood still. And when the cherubim rose, they rose with them, because the spirit of the living creatures was in them, in the wheels, the whirling wheels. Then the glory of the Lord departed from over the threshold of the temple and stopped above the cherubim. While I watched, the cherubim spread their wings and rose from the ground, and as they went, the wheels went with them. They stopped at the entrance of the east gate of the Lord's house, and the glory of the God of Israel was above them. These were the living creatures I had seen beneath the God of Israel by the Kebar River, and I realized that they were cherubim. Each had 4 faces and 4 wings, and under their wings was what looked like human hands. Their faces had the same appearance as those I had seen by the Kebar River. Each one went straight ahead. That was Ezekiel 10, verses 8 through 22. Those were angels with eyes covering everything, their head, their wings, their wheels, eyes covering everything. And then all the 4 different heads, one of a cherub, one of a human, one of an eagle, and one of a lion. Interesting. So that's Ezekiel 10, verses 8 through 22. Again, we're studying fantastic beasts of the Bible. Now we're going to the scary part. Go to Revelation chapter 12. Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay, I'm going to get through it, y'all. I'm going to get through it. Revelation chapter 12. I'm going to start at verse 1. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its heads. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. Now, this could be an analogy, but we know that a third of the angels were cast down when Satan was. So it's interesting that it says in verse 4, its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that it might devour her child the moment he was born. She gave birth to a son, a male child, who, quote, it says in quotes, will rule all the nations with an iron scepter, end quote. And her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. That's like 4 years ish, 3 something, 4 something. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back, but he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. That was through verse 9. That's Revelation 12, 1 through 9. And it continues at verse 13. When the dragon saw that he had been hurled to the earth, he pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. The woman was given the 2 wings of a great eagle so that she might fly to the place prepared for her in the wilderness, where she would be taken care of for a time, times, and half a time out of the serpent's reach. It doesn't explain that in a footnote. She would be taken care of for a time, times and half a time. But the earth helped the woman. Oh, wait, hold on. Out of the serpent's reach. So verse 15 says, then from his mouth, the serpent spewed water like a river to overtake the woman and sweep her away with the torrent. But the earth helped the woman by opening its mouth and swallowing the river that the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. Then the dragon was enraged at the woman and went off to wage war against the rest of her offspring, those who keep God's commands and hold fast their testimony about Jesus. Then it continues in chapter 13, verse 1. The dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear, and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. So it sounds like the dragon and this particular beast are 2 separate creatures. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. People worshiped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast. And they also worshiped the beast and asked, who is like the beast? Who can wage war against it? The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise its authority for 42 months. So in our time, 36 months would be 3 years. So 3.5 years, 3 years, 7 months, 3.5 years, 42 months, 3.5 years. 36 and 6 is 42. It opened its mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. It was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. And it was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life, the Lamb who was slain from the creation of the world. Whoever has ears, let them hear. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword they will be killed. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. Verse 11, we're still in chapter 13. Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast on its behalf and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed. And it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. Because of the signs it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast, it deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. That's terrifying, y'all. I'm just going to say that. Revelation 12 and 13, terrifying. Terrifying for so many reasons. Terrifying. But those are some of the fantastic beasts in the Bible. So there was the dragon, and then there were two additional beasts that were there, and then one that was a statue but had the power to talk and to kill. Gonna let that go now and go to Job. Let's go to Job chapter 40. Job 40. This is about I always say it wrong. I think it's Behemoth, Behemoth. I think it's Behemoth. Gina would tell me if she was here. I wish she was here, but she's traveling. So Job 40, we're going to read just verses 15 through 24. It says, look at Behemoth. Oh, Behemoth. I can't get it right. Gina's going to fix me later. Look at Behemoth. Now, keep in mind, it in NIV, it's capital B for Behemoth. Behemoth. There's a little fly in here. Go away, little fly. No one needs you. Look at Behemoth, which I made along with you, and which feeds on grass like an ox. What strength it has in its loins, what power in the muscles of its belly. Its tail sways like a cedar. The sinews of its thighs are close knit. That one verse in 17, Job 40:17, they say is what makes it sound like a brontosaurus, is that power that the tail has. Its bones are tubes of bronze, its limbs like rods of iron. It ranks first among the works of God, yet its maker can approach it with his sword. The hills bring it their produce, and all the wild animals play nearby. Under the lotus plants it lies, hidden among the reeds in the marsh. The lotuses conceal it in their shadow. The poplars by the stream surround it. A raging river does not alarm it. It is secure, though the Jordan should surge against its mouth. Can anyone capture it by the eyes or trap it and pierce its nose? That's Job 40, verses 15 through 24, talking about the behemoth. Look at chapter 41, talking about the Leviathan, which is a beast that comes out of the water. And we're just going to look at verses 1 through 10. Can you pull in Leviathan, again, capital Leviathan? Can you pull in Leviathan with a fish hook or tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through its nose or pierce its jaw with a hook? Will it keep begging you for mercy? Will it speak to you with gentle words? Will it make an agreement with you for you to take it as your slave for life? Can you make a pet of it like a bird or put it on a leash for the young women in your house? Will traders barter for it? Will they divide it up among the merchants? Can you fill its hide with harpoons or its head with fishing spears? If you lay a hand on it, you will remember the struggle and never do it again. Any hope of subduing it is false. The mere sight of it is overpowering. No one is fierce enough to rouse it. Who then is able to stand against me? Like, if you can't do this with the Leviathan, if you can't do this with the Leviathan, what makes you think you can battle with God and win? So that was Job 41, and that was verses 1 through 10. And then let's end on something positive. We're going to end in 39. In Job 39, 9 through 12, just a few little verses. Job 39, 9 through 12. And it's talking about the unicorn, but you have to read it out of the King James Version, because in the NIV, they don't call it a unicorn, they call it a wild ox. But in the King James Version, verses 9 through 12 of chapter 39 of Job says this: Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow? Or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Wilt thou trust him, because his strength is great? Or wilt thou leave thy labor to him? Wilt thou believe him, that he will bring home thy seed and gather it into thy barn? So they say that they're likely talking about, even though it's called a unicorn, that they're talking about a wild ox. And so when you read it out of NIV, it says, will the wild ox consent to serve you? Will it stay by your manger at night? Can you hold it to the furrow with a harness? Will it till the valleys behind you? Will you rely on it for its great strength? Will you leave your heavy work to it? Can you trust it to haul in your grain and bring it to your threshing floor? So that's about the unicorn or the wild ox. I think it's a unicorn. I like the unicorn. They call it a unicorn in King James. I'm calling it a unicorn. So there are unicorns. There's so many animals in Job. I mean, he just talks about all the things he created, the wild goats and the eagles and the ostrich, and there's so many animals. I have to look and see maybe for next week how many animals are listed in the book of Job, because there are a bunch. But those were fantastic beasts of the Bible. Fantastic, not necessarily in the way of goodness, but in bigness and overwhelmingness. So I hope you learned about some of these dragons, cherubim, beasts, leviathans, behemoths, behemoths. Oh my gosh. I'm going to do a Google search and say, how do you pronounce behemoth? Because I keep saying it wrong. Don't tease me, y'all. Don't tease me. Anyway, Father, thank you for showing us all the things that you created, the animals that are here and what they can do, how big they are, what's been here before us, what's coming after us. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for all the different variety of animals. And I thank you for this word. Thank you for helping us study your word and learn about the animals in the Bible. In the name of Jesus, I pray, and I will see you next week for Bible Study Live.